All right, since I've seen this question more than once, and I usually don't answer it, but I'm going to answer it. It says, why are you single? I am single because I got to wait for God to send me my wife. At the end of the day, what do I always tell y'all? It's not about just finding a relationship. It's not about for the women just finding a man. It's about being with the person that God wants you to be with, being with the person that aligns with you, that you guys can walk together in purpose, you know what I'm saying? And you can't do that with everybody. There's going to be great people out there. I truly believe whether you're a man or a woman, there's going to be great people you're going to meet that you get along with. You might even have chemistry with, but that doesn't mean you can do life with them. And so receiving that person God has for you sometimes takes more time. And I think a lot of y'all don't understand, being in my position, it's harder than you think. And when I say harder, I don't mean harder from the sense of meeting, like, I'm not gonna lie, y'all clearly say I have tons of followers. Meeting women is not necessarily an issue, but there's so much more to the whole dynamic that makes it different. I'm not gonna get into all of that tonight, but just know that that's the main thing. Because for me, until God can say, yo, that's her, I can't do it. That's what I've sworn myself to. That's what I'm going to hold myself to. And, I could just go out and get a relationship tomorrow if I wanted, but that's not what I think I should be doing, or you should be doing, or anyone should be doing. I believe we need to be patient and wait for what God wants us to be in. But there's going to be a lot of temptation that come in between then. So you got to be strong, because it ain't easy. I'm not going to lie, but that's the best thing to do. And also understand this, just because you may be in your mind ready for a relationship or knowledgeable about relationships, that doesn't mean it's time for you to be in a relationship. I think sometimes we jump the gun because we feel like we ready. Nah, like there's some other things that might need to be done or handled before it's time for that, if you're trying to do it the right way. And for me, I got to do it the right way. I can't be another example of a failed relationship. I can't be another example of a failed marriage. No, I got to make sure whatever I get myself into is going to be a good example that can inspire other people and show them the way that's going to really be beneficial to them. All right, what do you think about those who are battling the biological clock that doesn't help dating anxiety? So this is going to be easier said than done, but at the end of the day, you can't focus on the time. You got to focus on the work. All right. When you start worrying about, oh my gosh, I'm getting older, what am I going to do? Or I'm going to lose my opportunity to have babies. And don't get me wrong, there is a time frame to be cognizant of, but you can't focus on the time. You got to focus on the work. I had a woman come to me once. She was 42 years old. She was ready to give up on relationships. She was ready to do in vitro fertilization. I believe that's the correct way to call it. But she came to me as like one last ditch effort. Fast forward to run through the story. She's now after we did coaching and we did healing. We worked on her feminine energy. Literally, it's a true story. 3 months later, she met the dude on a flight. Now she's engaged, married to this man. They would have got married this year, but COVID kind of threw the wedding off, so it'll happen next year. And she's going to be able to have her baby with him. And let me also say this, that the perception of the biological clock when it comes to having babies, a lot of y'all don't know that there are ways to extend that time frame with the way you take care of yourself. So if you are concerned about getting too old and not having any babies, or not being able to have any babies, please first look into how you properly take care of yourself so that you can successfully have that, and you'll have a bigger window of opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Because it starts first with how you take care of yourself. Trying to find another question. When is enough enough? When you guys aren't willing to do what's necessary to make the relationship work. And when I say you guys, either one. So if at least one person in the relationship is unwilling to do the work, the relationship is done. Enough is enough. Like you can't force somebody to come correct. You can't force somebody to make corrections. You know what I'm saying? So they're not willing to put in the effort and put in the work, then there's nothing we can do at that point. End the relationship. And that might sound harsh, but what is the point of remaining in the relationship if at least one or more individual is saying, I don't want to do what's necessary to fix this, then it's pointless. So all you're going to do is complain day after day, be miserable, be unhappy, and drag along for what? It's going to inevitably end, so might as well end it now. So that's when enough is enough. All right, what's the best advice you could give for finding your purpose? The best thing that comes to my mind is, when it comes to finding your purpose, it's not always about the big picture. So basically, this is my purpose. What I'm doing with the speaking and the writing the books and speaking about relationships is my purpose. But I didn't find it, or I didn't know it off bat. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna be this relationship speaker or author. I never wanted to write. Like, I failed classes in high school because I didn't want to write papers. Like, I hated writing. Speaking, I'm an introvert. I never saw myself speaking. So all these things I'm doing now were never things I knew in the beginning I'd be doing. So to me, the biggest or the best advice is, focus on what you need to be doing next in your life. When you focus on the steps and not the big picture, you're gonna find yourself walking on a path that leads you to the big picture. Many times, if someone told you right now what your true purpose was, you would be overwhelmed. It might scare you. You may not be ready for it, or you may get overly anxious and try to rush the process. All right, because you're focused on the end goal rather than going through the steps. You got to focus on what's the next step. Now, for me, that came from praying a lot, talking to God. I went through a very spiritual process because I wasn't always this dude. I wasn't always into God like that. I wasn't always the man praying and all that kind of stuff. I was wild and running these streets and on some other stuff, to be honest with you, all right? But I went through a series of events that really, I guess, humbled me, and I started to pray more, and I pulled away from all the wildness I was engaging in. And in that, I was just asking God, all right, what's the next step? What do I need to do next? And even if you feel like you don't hear spiritually in that way, like, ask yourself, start writing down, what do I need to do next in my life? For some of you, it might be getting your health in order. For some of you, it might be even if this may sound silly, but even if something that's fixing your credit, because who knows if your purpose is going to be in starting a business where you're going to need your credit. Like, all these little things you accomplish are going to lead to something bigger. All right. So start identifying what are the next steps I can take. But of course, if you can, I would highly suggest spiritually trying to find that answer by praying, maybe even fasting. I did a lot of fasting. I've done all kinds of crazy fasts. And like I said, for some of y'all who don't know, I've even gone like 7 days, no food, just water fast. And these things are amazing to me because they really bring clarity. So to me, fasting is always a great way to connect spiritually, to gain more clarity and gain more answers. Do guys really know when they have found their wife? I'm gonna say this. The answer within me that I need to say is yes. All right, yes. And when I say, does he know he found his wife? No one can predict the future. No one can say this is for sure going to be my wife. But I do believe that, yes, men know when, this is the woman I want to marry, or this is the woman I can see myself with. And it does not take as long as y'all been told or y'all been sold and made to believe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got tons of stories of men who, may have had tons of women. All right. But when they came across that one woman, the connection was immediate. And they knew right away. They knew within, this may sound crazy, but they knew within the first conversation. They knew within the first 24 hours. They knew fast, like, this is it. This is the one I want. This is the one I can see myself being with. It did not take years. A lot of times when it takes years, it's because he's not falling in love with you. He's just growing attached to you. He's just learning how to tolerate you. He's just figuring, you know what? She's been here this whole damn time. Let me go ahead and settle down with her, because I feel like I can trust her. You know what I'm saying? Or is she going to be loyal? She going to stick by me? But it ain't real love. But when it's a real connection, that thing is immediate. And all the men I've spoken to have similar stories where it was pretty fast. Again, most of them, I want to say, first week, it just does not take long at all. At all. To me, that's a lie that's been told, because people want to validate dragging on relationships longer than they should and have the excuse of it takes time, it takes time. No, that's BS. And let's be real, as women, y'all know too. Y'all know in that first time meeting him if there's at least potential at the very least. And you know when he's not it. But y'all rationalize reasons to give this man a chance and to keep giving it a try and push things along. And then what happens is over time, you become more attached. Now you have a harder time breaking free, but you always knew he wasn't the dude. Damn near every woman that has been divorced I have sat down and coached has confessed to me that she knew before she even married that man, he was not it. But for various reasons, married him anyway. That's why we're seeing so many problems, so many dysfunctions, so many broken relationships, because people are ignoring their spirit, their intuition, their gut, saying to them, this ain't it. And we got to stop doing that. All right, this question popped out, so I'm going to answer it. It says, speak on the subject of dealing with a marriage, and for the sake of people who aren't married, marriage or relationship that has no emotional depth. All right. So one, it's unfortunate for anyone to be in a marriage that lacks emotional depth, and there's a huge disconnect in that relationship or in that marriage. And of course, in a perfect world, no one would have to get divorced. In the perfect world, who you married can always be fixed and corrected, and you guys can get things right. But the unfortunate reality is that a lot of people, the majority of people, married the wrong person. All right. And so for a lot of you, there's nothing you can do. And that might sound, and again, if you feel like from a spiritual perspective, nah, God can fix it. All right, well, you know what? That's between you and God. You talk to God about if this can work and if you should remain there. But I'm going to make the argument like this. If you didn't let God lead you into the marriage, why do you think it's now your place to stay in that marriage? Like people will say you can't, how they say it, you can't break apart what God brought together. But it's like, yo, for a lot of y'all, God never brought it together. God never even wanted you with that individual. God, you never even asked God if you should be in that relationship. So how are you now going to put it on God about, oh, well, I'm supposed to stay here anyway, despite the fact that it's now a toxic marriage, toxic relationship. And then we get into, well, stay for the kids. But now, listen, the people that I've talked to, coached, counseled, met at events, adult individuals, are individuals who grew up in these same households with parents trying to stay together for the kids, quote unquote, but y'all creating a toxic ass environment. Excuse my language. Y'all creating an environment that's only damaging the kids even more. So now these same kids grow up dysfunctional, skewed perception of love and relationships, don't know how to have a healthy relationship, don't have an example of a healthy relationship, but you thought you was doing them a favor. Nah, you ain't doing them no favors. And let's be real, some of y'all are hiding behind, oh, I'm gonna stay for the kids. No, let's be real. You staying because you scared. You staying because it's hard to walk away. And I ain't judging, I ain't looking down at you, but let's be real about what's going on. You using the kids as an excuse, but in reality, you are just afraid to let go. You are afraid to acknowledge the mistake you made even marrying this person. You knew they weren't it. So at the end of the day, yo, if you with the wrong person, you're just with the wrong person. And there's not much we can do. But for those who may be in a salvageable relationship or marriage, again, which is why if you watch my videos, I always say you address the issue. You sit down with that person, you talk about it, you let everything out. Yo, this is what I need from you. What do you need from me? Can we come to an agreement on doing these things for each other? How do we improve on these issues? And if we have two individuals willing to work together, all right, we got a chance. But if that's not going to happen, then what the hell are we doing? It's not going to work. And so this is why it's so important as well for those of you who are not married yet or not in a relationship. If you know emotional depth is important to you, why are you overlooking it before you get in a serious commitment with somebody? You got to be mindful of that. Let's be real. It's in most cases, no, it's not, oh, the depth was there and then it just disappeared. In most cases, it was never there, but you overlooked it. You made excuses for it. And I'm not saying you who asked the question, but a lot of people do that. And now you think, oh, I can deal with this I'll make it work somehow because you want this so bad. And then you get to a point where you realize you can't deal with it. The same red flags you ignore in the beginning are the same red flags that end the relationship. So you got to stop playing yourself, stop lying to yourself, and recognize, yo, this is what I need. This is what I can't tolerate. This is what I cannot sustain and deal with long term. And if that person cannot understand that, embrace those things as you have to embrace what they need, then we can't have no relationship. How do you find higher quality men? Lord, I'm going to answer this. How do you find higher quality men? By being a higher quality woman. Listen, all right, I'm going to give it to y'all real right now. Let me just give this quick disclaimer. I love y'all, and nothing I say is to offend you. Nothing I say is to judge you or look down on you. None of that, all right? I want to encourage you. I want you to be better. I want you to live a higher quality of life. But to achieve that, I have to give you truth that might hurt. I got to tell you some things that might be hard to swallow, but I'm going to still tell it to you. So when you ask me, how can you attract higher quality men? And I say, well, you got to be a higher quality woman. But there's a caveat to that. Because unfortunately, a lot of women are creating their own perception of high quality rather than embracing what men or that high quality man desires or perceives as high quality. So you'll have a lot of women, as an example, who will say, yo, I'm a good woman. I got my degree. I got my own house. I make my money. I ain't got no kids. Great. Bravo. But please understand, those things are not the priority to the high quality man. To the high quality man, he wants your feminine energy. He wants someone that's going to look good for him. He wants someone that knows how to talk to him. You know what I'm saying? He wants someone who's going to be open to how they please him sexually. That, if we're going to be real about it. All right. These are the priority things. The degree, the money, all that. That's icing on the cake. That's bonus. That's cool. It's respectable. But that ain't what's going to make you be viewed by the high quality man as a high quality woman. Even if he views you as a good woman, does he really still want to be with that woman or even want to marry that woman? And if you have those things plus the feminine energy and all that other stuff, okay, yeah, absolutely, you're going to be viewed as high quality. But you got a lot of women who got the degrees, who got the money, who got the house, but the feminine energy is low, masculine energy coming out of them. All right, how they embrace the needs of the man, not there. You know what I'm saying? How they talk to the man, not there. But they'll still scream, but I'm high quality. No, you're not to him. Not to that kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? So if you want that kind of guy, you got to understand what that kind of guy wants. The same way, if a man says to me, I want a high quality woman, I'm going to have the same answer for him. Yo, it ain't about what you think is high quality. It's about what women think is high quality. You got to find out what women need and desire. Tap into that, and now you're high quality. You can't make up your own rules and then say, why ain't nobody picking me? That doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? You don't go apply for the job and say, yo, you should hire me because I have this, and that. But the job specifically says, no, but we looking for someone that has that, and that. You got to match what they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you become high quality. You work on yourself, but to even achieve that, you got to heal. So if y'all been following me, you know I'm big on healing. You got to heal. It's hard to tap into your higher self. It's hard to become a better woman or man when you have not healed. So you've got to address your past issues, your past traumas, and all these different things. That's how you're going to get there. You know what I'm saying? And also you got to ask yourself, are you really prepared to embrace what that kind of man wants? And what I mean by that is, like a lot of women want a successful man. And I make the case that a lot of women can't handle a successful man because a lot of women are thinking about the benefit of having the successful man, not the work that's required to have him, to keep him, to sustain that relationship. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, you have to understand there's going to be a give and a take that comes into that. Are you really prepared for that level of giving? Are you prepared for what the standard that he's going to set? Because if small example, all right, if the high quality successful man is very very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a high priority to him about you looking good and maintaining a healthy, fit body. Let's just use this as an example, okay? Not saying every high quality man may prioritize that, but if we're honest with ourselves, we know it's a common thing. If you know you have the mentality of, I don't want to have to be working out or eating healthy, I don't want to have to deal with that expectation, then why are you even trying to get that kind of guy? You don't want that life. You don't want that work. You know what I'm saying? And it's cool. If you don't want it, that's fine. And again, let's flip it. It's the same way. If a man says to me, yo, I want that amazingly beautiful woman, I want that baddie, whatever, right? But that woman, she wants a dude that's going to be spending some money on her. She wants a dude, I'm just saying as an example, let's say she wants a dude that's going to pay for her hair, nails, all that. If you cool with that, all right, cool, then go for it, brother. But if you're going to complain about having to maintain this woman and pay her bills or whatever, then yo, don't even bother. Don't complain about it. Don't shoot for that. Go find what you're comfortable with. Everyone got to be real with themselves. What are you willing to work for? What are you willing to do for that type of person you want? Are you willing to match that energy that they're going to be looking for? If you are, bravo, make it happen. If you're not, reassess what you actually want and what you're comfortable with. Because a lot of people asking for it, they get it and don't know what the hell to do when they have it. All right, well, this moving fast. I ain't find another question, so I'm gonna just talk about a quick topic real quick while I wait for another question to pop up. So listen, real quick, going back to this feminine and masculine energy. I just want to make a quick statement on this. All right, listen, I'm a firm believer and supporter of the fact that women need to get back in touch with their feminine energy. Men need to get back in touch with their masculine energy. We live in a time where things have gotten all jacked up. Men have lost sight of their masculinity and women have lost sight of their femininity. And I do believe that contributes heavily to the dysfunction that we are seeing. It is a product of the dysfunction. Let me acknowledge that. But then in addition, it now continues the negative cycle. All right. And a lot of people's struggles in life stem from the fact that they have lost touch of their true core energy. I can tell you right now, for women, if you get in touch with your feminine energy, your life will improve. I will bet my money on it, all right? I will bet all my money on it. Your life will improve if you get back in touch with your femininity. Men, if you get back in touch with your masculinity, your life will improve. Plain and simple. But the more you deviate or go to the other side, you will see your life go down. You will see the quality go down. Women, you start carrying too much masculine energy, you're going to experience more stress, more unhappiness. You are not going to be at peace from within. I'm telling you right now, you're going to struggle if you keep allowing yourself to walk in masculine energy and don't learn how to get control of that situation. Same way for men. If you deviate too far from your masculinity and into femininity, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to be a happy dude. You're not going to be living at your higher level self. Now, some people may have different opinions. You're free to have them, but I'm telling you what I believe, what I stand strong on. I'm not changing that. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm going to keep pushing to people, and I'm going to creating more stuff to help people in this regard, because to me, it is that damn important. We need to fix that. We need to correct that issue because it's causing a lot of problems in people's lives. All right, this comment says, it's hard to be a bull in the workplace and come home and be docile and feminine. It takes a lot of practice. I don't know if I want to use the word docile, but I feel what you're saying, and I agree. It is hard to turn that switch off when you're being the bull, the masculine energy at work. But I'm going to give you a tip. You ain't got to be as masculine as you think at work. Like I tell women all the time, like, yo, you think that masculine energy is getting you ahead. In reality, consider this. I had a client one time. She was a lawyer. All right, excuse my language, but she said she had to be a bitch to get ahead. And I said to her, no, you got ahead despite being a bitch. They respect your intelligence. They respect how skilled you are. And despite the fact that they don't like you, they still got to promote you. All right. But now on the flip side, we've all seen women with no skill get promoted all day because they got looks and charm. So how can you tell me that if you combine the woman with skill and intelligence with the woman with looks and charm, or presentation and charm, that she would not become the most unstoppable woman in the workforce. You can't sell me on nothing different. You cannot convince me that the masculine woman will win over that woman. It won't happen. So the reality is, you don't need masculinity. You need to learn how to swing your femininity as the powerful sword it is. All right. And do so while combining it with your intelligence and your skill. There is a way to do it. So now you won't get so lost in your masculinity when you're at work, and it will be easier to balance in life. But even if you still, or it's going to take you some time to master that, you do have to practice. You do have to be conscious of it. You do have to be mindful of, all right, yo, when I go home, I got to shut that masculine energy stuff down. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it is. And again, it's the same way with men. Yo, we got to learn how to master our masculine, because a lot of times men, especially men when they're in love, here's the crazy thing. Yo, a man can be walking around super masculine. He falls in love with a woman, and again, excuse my language, he'll turn into a little bitch. It happens to all of us, all right? Any man on here can protest, can confess to that. If you've fallen in love, that really, like, it hits hard. But as men, and I was just talking to some guys the other day, like, we have to learn how to master ourselves, how we have to learn how to love and still maintain our masculine energy, how we can still be the man she needs us to be, but not become all lost in now becoming passive and overly emotional, and these things that now make us less attractive to that woman. Because the reality is that y'all don't want no overly feminine man. Let's be real. Y'all love masculine energy, period. End of story. Y'all love it. Can't get enough of it. All right. But unfortunately, because the men who actually love you, the men who actually care, struggle with the balance of it all, they start to become less attractive in some cases. And now who becomes a little bit more appealing? The bad boy, the dude who ain't gonna treat you right. And again, due to dysfunction and other traumas, that can lead you back into the wrong arms. Now, that's not to make excuses for anybody, but I'm explaining why it's so important for both sides to embrace their core energy. Men, masculine energy; women, feminine energy. Older man, younger woman. I guess you asking me what my thoughts are on older men, younger women. All right, let me make it real clear. Like, I'm someone who, I don't think age is supposed to be a fact, as long as we keeping it legal. I always tell people, like, no illegal nonsense, all right? But if we keeping it legal, I don't believe in age being a deterrent. I think people are very misguided, and I say that respectfully, misguided in the sense that there's an automatic assumption that a difference in age means we can't connect, we what are we gonna talk about, all this nonsense. Listen, yo, you can meet people older than you who are less mature than people who are younger. All right, like, age does not define maturity. Age does not define connection. Age does not define two people's ability to have a healthy relationship. All right, so again, we must keep it legal. And yes, granted, there's a case to be made that depending on the age, you know what I'm saying, there may need to be some more development. But again, that's on a case-by-case basis. You can meet an individual. I've met all kinds of people so far in my life, yo, and I'm telling you, I've met women, just an example, I've met women who were 22 who had their stuff way more together, way more intelligent, way more mature than women in their 40s. Like, yo, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It does not matter. So at the end of the day, yo, if you meet someone and they're younger and they're really immature, all right, don't date them. Not because they're younger, but because they're immature. You see what I'm saying? So if you meet someone older, you don't date them because they're older. No, you date them because you connect with them. It ain't about the age specifically. It's about the connection. It's about all the other qualities you're looking for. And if you can find that, and yo, and for the record, I mean the same thing if it's older woman, younger man. I don't care which way it is. Older woman, younger man, older man, younger woman, whatever. Whatever's going to actually involve a connection, yo, roll with that. Make it happen. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Dating is an art, and some of y'all don't know how the hell to paint. So listen, I had to say it. I had to say it. But this work with me here. Don't leave the video. Don't get upset. Because I'm here.